Welcome to The Claw. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist at Liger. The Claw is the marketing podcast for C-suite executives. I'm joined today by Aby Varma. He is with Spark Novus. Aby, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Eric, for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what Spark Novus does.
Yeah, it's Spark Novus essentially works with marketing leaders, sounds like your audience, marketing leadership, and we will help marketing leaders embrace and adopt AI in sort of a strategic and responsible way within their marketing workflows in order to meet business objectives.
Okay, a very important topic nowadays.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So since AI is like this hot thing recently now, I did a project on AI when I was in college, and I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that was, but there was such a thing. But now that everybody's doing it, what did you do before Spark Novus?
Yeah, so I am a lifelong marketer, essentially. The early part of my career, I joke about it, I was on the dark side. I was in sales. Okay. But I think I almost feel like all marketers need to have almost like a sales draft, where you need to be in sales for a couple of years. It just makes you a better marketer. So, and then I had a little bit of a stint as in development, in the very, very early part of my career, right? So I've done sales, tech, and marketing, but marketing was my home, and I did that for 20 years and caught the AI bug just before COVID. So the timing was brilliant because I had a lot of time on my hands during COVID to kind of learn up and get my hands dirty and that sort of thing. And I decided to sort of activate on my AI bug post my corporate world. So Spark Novus has been around for a couple of years, and it's been a hell of a ride in a good way. Yeah.
So it's interesting because I started in technology, so I'm a recovering technologist. I ran development shops early. And then one of my next jobs after that was in a sales organization.
Okay.
So knowing, going into a room and selling a deal does make you a better marketer.
100%.
You know the objections, the way the customer looks at it. It is a good sort of thing to have.
For sure. And it's like one of those things. Like once you're in sales, it's like swimming or bicycling. Like you never lose it. So even though I've been in marketing for like 20 years, I still say I'm in marketing, but I've had a very close relationship with my sales counterparts, and I've never forgotten it, never lost sight of it. And when we started on this sort of Spark Novus journey, it's come in handy, as you can imagine.
100%. And one would argue that everyone's selling every day. You're selling something to somebody.
You got it. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you got the Spark for AI, and I know when I was really impressed with it, I know the turning point moment, the thing I had to do. What was that for you? So what was the thing that really was like, this is a thing?
Yeah, so the company I used to work for, we hired a senior level AI machine learning kind of guru from Silicon Valley into the organization. And it was at that time, pre-COVID, this was still a R&D project for the company, but he and me struck up a professional relationship and became buddies, and I got hooked into it. And I sort of live at the intersection of marketing and technology anyhow.
Right.
And so I was naturally sort of gravitated towards it. And the more I sort of unpacked, the more I got sucked in. And it was just, that was the sort of trigger point to a point where I felt that I could really leverage AI from a marketing standpoint. And actually pre-COVID, I had different admissions. By that time, I'd been with my company for like 10 years or so. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to quit and start a software company with AI for marketers. And then COVID happened, put those plans on pause. And then on the other side of COVID, when I reemerged, I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. But this time, the AI MarTech space was tremendously crowded. And I felt that sort of problem solving and really supporting marketing leaders in adopting that and truly seeing the value of this technology may have been maybe a better approach. So hence we pivoted from being ambitions of a product company, a MarTech company, to really being a consulting and services company, which is what we are.
Okay. Yeah. Really thinking about AI in a meaningful way before COVID was progressive.
It really was, and like I said, it's a lot of it was boiled down to timing, because at that time, generative AI wasn't a thing, and it was more machine learning and that sort of thing. So it was very technology intensive, if you will. So I think I caught the bug at the right time, I guess.
Yeah, being kind of ahead, noticing that the impact it might have.
Yeah.
So day to day, so in Spark Novus, having made this pivot, what's the kind of thing you're working on? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So most times when we work with marketing leaders, they've, about this time, years are like dog years, So I feel that even though, ChatGPT is a little over, 2 years old, 2.5 years old, roughly. But, with the advent of ChatGPT, everybody woke up to the power of AI.
Right.
And then from a marketing standpoint, you see, there was, of course, awareness and curiosity, and there was individual experimentation. So I'd say day to day, when we started off with Spark Novus, it was a lot of basic foundational education. What is this AI thing you speak of? That sort of thing. Now I feel that majority of the marketing leadership and marketing organizations have already figured it out. They're all users of ChatGPT, so there's that foundational level of understanding. But now I feel that the industry is at a pivotal point where they want to pivot from individual utilization of ChatGPT, and yes, it saved me 2 hours, and guess what? It's going back to my family and not to the company.
Right.
So it's pivoting from that. But it's like, hey, how can I really make AI a foundational kind of element of how we market, right? So which is why when we're talking to CMOs and CXOs, a lot of times they're like, hey, Aby, can you help us with AI? And I pause and I'm like, hey, AI to do what?
Right.
And there's sometimes an awkward silence, and I'm like, I don't know, we're supposed to be using AI, right?
Yeah.
So I think the day to day, there's a lot of that is just sort of pure evangelism and making and sort of shedding a light on the fact that AI it's not a tool.
Right.
It is in service of a higher purpose, a higher calling. So as long as you attach it to that North Star, everything in terms of the operational side of it or the tactical side of it becomes way easier to approach, as opposed to chasing the shiniest new tool that is out there. So
yeah, that's always I've always been enamored with technology, and that's why I went to school to get the computer science degree. Now, once I realized what that meant, that I'd be like behind a computer every day programming, I was like, maybe this isn't what I want to do, right? But it's not the novelty of the technology for me. It's always been about the application.
100%.
Like how does this make life better? Like what is it? It's like, how do we apply it? And we're in this interesting curve, because you have companies like you said that, we're supposed to be adopting it. And then soon we'll have the companies who didn't. Yeah. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, we're way behind, right? Yeah. Like because we've ignored it, or we've pretended like we couldn't do it. Reminds me a lot more of the .com boom than it does some of the others. But
100%. And I think one thing I'm noticing even over the last 2 years, that people have gone from avoiding AI because they were sort of skeptical.
Yeah.
Majority have turned the corner. Mm-hmm. And you can run, but you can't hide.
Yeah.
But now I see that they're avoiding because of just being overwhelmed. They don't know where to start.
Yes.
So that pivot, or that sort of transition, is pretty remarkable to see out there. Yeah. So a lot of marketing leaders that we work with, it's a lot of that, like the how. Okay, I get it, I believe in it, or my team believes in it, or my CEO is asking me to do it, all of those things. But then they're like, okay, what's the next step? How do I go about it? Where do I start? And that sort of stuff. So it's a lot of those sort of discussions. I almost force people to not start with any dialogue pertaining to the tools. So somebody comes to me and is like, hey, Aby, have you heard of tool XYZ? And do you think it can do that for us? And I'm like, I'm out. I'm like, no, do not think about that. Think about the why, and like what we were talking about earlier, the higher purpose. Is it in service of demand generation, customer centricity, and frankly, the value drivers for adoption used to be not that that's not a reality even today, but the focus was very much efficiency, and time saving. Those things are there, but now those things are table stakes, right? So now people are looking for a higher calling, a North Star, if you will, attached to a business element, right? So that pivot just right in front of my eyes over the last year and a half is pretty fascinating to see.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see. It's also fascinating to see how quickly the universe of things available is, because if you think about, there's that famous, and I should remember the guy who puts it out, but there's the MarTech, 2012, there were this
Scott
many
Brinker.
MarTech, yes, this many things and whatever. I do a presentation called Making Sense of the Modern Day Marketing Maze, and I show year over year the number of tools available in the MarTech stack.
Yeah.
We've seen that many tools available in AI, because AI can write its own tool, right? Like you can go in and say, hey, write me a tool that does this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our expansion has been so quick. My analogy I always use is, and I shouldn't, because if you see me in a Home Depot, you really should kick me out. I'm probably trying to do, like, I never want to talk to the guy because he's like, what are you trying to do? I'm like, don't ask me, because you're probably going to tell me I'm doing it the wrong way. But in Home Depot, like, if you try to use one tool to do all the things,
Yeah.
it's going to take you forever, right? I can't
Yep.
just buy a screwdriver and fix my entire house. I need the right tool for the right problem. So
Yep.
how are we problem centric? Like, what are we trying to solve?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and looking
Absolutely.
at that. And that's where it can become, having someone like you that's seen some of the tools, understands how they fit, and if it's even out there as a viable thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're thinking of something that really isn't together yet.
No, absolutely. And frankly, tools are sort of a third layer.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Our very first layer is like what I said, strategy. Because
Yeah.
imagine, if you were to take every single use case and tool and technology within a marketing department,
Right.
Put it on a Post-it note. You can fill up a wall, right? Okay, now if you were to layer some sort of a higher purpose, that okay, we're going to focus things that is going to help us do better demand generation and help reach our growth objectives. Well, you'll see whatever 80-90% of those post-it notes may sort of wither away. So your first thing, at the moment you have that higher purpose, all the little quote unquote post-it notes will align to that goal. So sort of defining that higher purpose. Technology is still not on the mix. The second thing is the people side of the equation. So that's where we'll work with making sure that there's this training, and the culture change cannot emphasize how important it is, because whether people are saying it or not, when I say people, I mean marketers within a marketing organization, to the leaders who are listening to this podcast, I can bet you if you were to do an anonymous survey, the number one question is going to be, is AI going to take my job?
Yes.
Right?
And that's so we're going to go to a break. That's a good question to come back on, because I
Sounds
want to
like
see
fun.
what you say on the other end of that. So we're going to be back in just a minute. You're listening to The Claw. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist at Liger, talking today with Aby Varma. He is with Spark Novus, and he's talking to us today about everything AI and marketing. We'll be right back.
The Claw podcast is brought to you by Liger. Liger is a hybrid marketing firm combining a brand strategy consultancy and a production house that offers the full range of content and creative services. We can be your entire marketing department or your entire marketing department's favorite people to work with. We save the world from boring, broken marketing by putting businesses in brand therapy so they can express their most authentic, memorable selves. And then we share their story so they can be known. For more information, visit ligerpartners.com and follow us on our social media platforms.
And we're back. You're listening to The Claw. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist at Liger. The Claw is the marketing podcast for C-suite executives. I'm joined today by Aby Varma. He is the founder of Spark Novus. And we're talking about one of the most popular topics today, or in the world around AI, and specifically around AI and marketing, because it's been a really impactful thing in that technology space. And one of the things I loved you talked about Post-it notes and kind of maybe whiteboards. It's maybe my favorite thing in the world to do. So like putting things up on a Post-it notes and figuring out how to sort them together. And so this like concern around AI and should I adopt it or not because it's going to take my job.
Yes.
So when someone says that, what's your response?
Yeah, I mean, the way I say it is that I'm going to talk about it in broad terms first. So I think the answer to that is yes, our job's going to go away. Absolutely. But I think is it going to be a net positive in the economy? I believe it is. No different than the internet, right? With the internet, there were a lot of things that went away, but society and business sort of realigned itself to a new way of doing things. So I think with AI, we are going to see two things. We are going to see people doing things differently, but we are also going to see people doing different things.
Yes.
Right? And
that is such an important point.
Yes.
If the world would just understand.
Absolutely. So I have an optimistic outlook where I think there's going to be a net positive kind of impact, and all the research from the McKinseys and the Deloittes of the world sort of seems to hint at that if you are, I'm super simplifying of course, but if you are in a profession where there's a lot of grunt work and repetitive stuff and heavy sort of data oriented kind of mechanical type kind of workload that you have, those are the type of things which AI can sort of help you. And I don't think it's going to be an overnight shift.
Right.
I think it's going to be where you'll see AI being kind of a co-pilot, a Sherpa to your job first,
Yep.
to a point where systems get smart enough to where you don't have to do them anymore. And I think humanity is going to move up the value chain to add more value where AI cannot play.
Yes, 100%. My favorite examples, the day I was addicted, is I was starting a new strategy process with a client, and the client sold a product. They sold specifically into customers who use this one product. And I'd never heard of the product.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, I need to educate myself. And before, I would spend a day learning about the product, learning about who uses it. And I went in and asked, hey, this product, give me examples of companies that use it, how they use it, and it spit out 10 companies, told me exactly how they used it, where it fit. And I was like, do you know how much, like, that wasn't taking somebody else's job.
Oh,
that was
100%.
giving me time back to do what the client really wanted me to do, which was to be a strategic resource to them.
100%.
So how do you get rid of the things? My really crude example of this is getting chicken. There's multiple ways you can get chicken. You can go to a farm and get a chicken. You can buy chicken from the grocery store, or the chicken can show up at your house, because I have Butcher Box. It shows up at my house.
Nice.
So once that shows up, what you do with it, you might make chicken parm and I might make chicken piccata, right? So it's let that part just happen. That's
I
the
love that
automagic
analogy.
piece. Yeah, right. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so then from this, what's been interesting, and we're both here in the Atlanta community, you've set up this like really good group that people are going to, it seems, to like learn AI in the future. And so tell me more about why you did that and what that's about and how that works.
Absolutely. So the group is called Marketing AI Pulse. We call it the Marketing AI Pulse community. And we do in-person events, and we do online events, and we are expanding beyond Atlanta.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the genesis of that was, like I said, just maybe about 2 years ago when we started on this journey. I was looking for, marketing professionals who are, what do they know about AI? And I was looking for sort of like-minded professionals, kindred spirits, if you will, to see how are others feeling about it. I'm excited and I'm enthused about it, but what do other people know about it, and how are they thinking about it? And lo and behold, I found that there was nobody in Atlanta in marketing who was talking about that. Lots of technical communities, and don't get me wrong, Atlanta is an amazing technical town. So a lot of developer communities and that sort of thing, where I was seeing, I would go to those and I would see, whatever Python code coming up and that sort of stuff. But from a marketing standpoint, I did not see anything out there, right? And so we were like, great, let's just start one. And it started off with me and a buddy getting coffee in Starbucks at,
Every best idea does.
Yes. Early 2024, and we are sort of last coffee, let's get together for drinks bar sort of gathering was attracted about 40 people 6 months later. And then we were like, that's it, we got to formalize it. And we had our first, we do an event every quarter at Atlanta Technology Park at Peachtree Corners.
Yeah.
Our first one attracted about 40 people. Our second one attracted about 65. The last one that we did in January was about 150 people.
Yeah.
And we have one coming up next week where we have 200 registrations and counting, and still over a week to go.
That's
so
amazing.
The response has been phenomenal, and it's just an amazing mix of subject matter experts, technology providers, networking, and we have three principles for the community, right? So we talk about, connect, learn, and grow.
Yeah.
So from a connect standpoint, obviously we want technology providers to find customers. We want consultants to find gigs. We want job seekers to find jobs. We want companies to find talent. So to me, all forms of connections are welcome. It's a free event, by the way. And then from a learning standpoint, put in a lot of effort in really curating quality speakers. Like for the one coming up, we have, Salesforce and Accenture and Zapier and, Home Depot. We have a lot of good brands, practitioners, and technology companies sort of represented. And historically, we've had like Jasper AI and Google and Microsoft. All of them have sort of spoken. So we spend a lot of time making sure that the learning aspect is sort of real. And this time, for the first time, we also have a little kind of mini booth tables, if you will, where people can actually go, play with the technology and experience it. And then, of course, all of this is supposed to really lead to growth, intellectual growth, career growth, and really help marketers move up the chain of their knowledge and making sure they can sort of put their best marketing foot forward.
Yeah, very nice. It reminds me of the days of when social media was really kind of coming out. There were these social media meetups around Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I was big on what was called Twitter then. I had like 35,000 followers on Twitter. So
amazing.
Then, right? And some of those people I'm still really good friends with, because it was this groundswell. Like we had these little small meetings in coffee shops and bars and whatever, and then it ended up turning into like like all that kind
Absolutely.
of stuff to get it to a point that people feel comfortable with it. They feel like they, understand how to apply it. They understand how it's going to like work next.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you and Spark Novus, since you seem to be like a future seer, like if you were doing this, like, so what are you excited about? What do you want to do next? What are you thinking of things that you can tell us that, are not secrets?
Yeah, no, I think great question. I think we have a lot of ideas, firstly, but at the end of the day, I think we are setting our sights firm on marketers. Yeah. We want marketers to be successful, and everything that we do is in service of that. Like, it's not uncommon for small consulting shops like ours, where people are like, oh my gosh, you get a little bit of early success and you're like, great, let's go expand and let's not limit ourselves to marketing. And I feel sort of the other way around, because I want to double down and focus and be laser focused, in fact, on marketing success. And to that end, we are adding a lot of things. So we are adding formalized education, and I don't mean training courses and that sort of thing. There's lots of resources online, free, that marketers it's up to their own initiative to go sort of leverage it. But what we want to do is we really want to make sure that for most marketing leaders, the very first step is them thinking and conceiving as the art of the possible.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is spend a day with them and their teams, understand them a little bit, understand the opportunities and the pain points and the apprehensions and the excitements, package all that up into sort of a workshop style experience, and really that be their first step towards AI journey, towards their AI journey. So that to me is a big focus area for us. And you can't not talk about agents, right? AI was sort of the start of it, and to me, sort of the next generation of that is agents. So we are putting in a lot of effort in demystifying agents and really making sure what's the role of agents in the future that can coexist with marketing organizations, right? So that to me, those are two areas of, making sure. One is early stage, getting people. I mean, as much as AI there is, you'd be surprised to learn that majority of the marketers are still stuck at that sort of personal experimentation type stage.
I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah.
I would not be. And I love the fact that you're focused on that, because my heart for marketers has been that I would challenge someone in kind of the white collar space to find another department that has been more impacted about some of the changes that have happened,
Yep.
right? Because, and that's this, I do this Making Sense of Modern Day Marketing Maze, and I talk about that 2008 when smartphones came out and, we got the internet and all that stuff happened and really dramatically impacted marketing.
Yeah.
And most people got their marketing degrees before that, right? And nothing we do in marketing is a set of forget it. We can't do, like in accounting, you do a profit and loss, and every month you probably do the profit and loss the same way.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you go to jail, right? And so in marketing, every month we're like, oh my gosh, all the traffic just died going to this site.
Oh.
It's just like we're always reacting to this stuff.
100%. And it's moving fast. Like the other day, somebody was like, hey, I'm and I didn't mean this sort of in an insulting way, but he was like, hey, my focus is digital marketing. I'm like, which part of marketing is not digital today, right? So to me, just the foundational definition of marketing with every new wave of innovation changes, whether it's for the good or the bad, like GDPR, like marketers were on the front line of that,
So all that stuff, regulations. And I love that because marketing and every marketing experience typically includes some digital component.
Yep.
But the more we do things like ChatGPT, the more we're doing experiences that are driving you to digital. Like it's like
Absolutely.
The pendulum just swings back and forth. So it's such a interesting, exciting place. Well, you and I could probably talk forever. So I appreciate you spending some time with me on the claw. How do people best get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, sparknovus.com or hit me up on LinkedIn or Instagram. Would love to connect.
Okay. And can they find the information on the community?
Yes, absolutely. So if you go to sparknovus.com, you'll see community in the top navigation, or just search for Marketing AI Pulse. It'll show up.
All right. Awesome. Well, you have been listening to The Claw. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist at Liger. I've been talking today with Aby Varma. He is the founder of Spark Novus, and he knows a lot about AI and marketing and how those things are interacting. So I suggest that you find him on LinkedIn and learn all those things yourself. Thanks so much for tuning in.